Welcome to 12 Minutes or Less with the Author. I'm your host, T.L. Brown, but you can call me Tracy. Let's get started. Hey everyone. I'm so excited because today we have one of my favorite authors, Rachel Stanley. Rachel lives in the northwest of England. She has always wanted to write stories, but only found the time to put pen to paper after a dream about a grim reaper. True story. She's spent most of her adult life working as a project manager, despite her degree being in psychology. Her degree comes in handy, though, helping her to understand people and their different motivations. Rachel lives with her husband, David, and their two cats, Cooper and Watson, who feature in her A Grimm series. She loves to travel and intends on seeing as much of the world as possible in her lifetime. Much of her writing is actually done when she is on one of her trips, at home or abroad. She can often be found at the side of a lake or sat on a rock in the middle of nowhere, adding to her latest work of fiction. Rachel, thank you for joining me on this Sunday, making time. I'm so glad you're here.
You're very welcome. It's lovely to be here, Tracy, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Let's get right to the meat of it because that's what people want. First question. I came to know you through your popular trilogy, A Grimm series. Can you tell us a little about that series and how the story and the characters evolved over 3 books?
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said in my bio, a Grimm series came about because I had a dream about a Grim Reaper. So, I actually dreamt about the first chapter in which the Grim Reaper is in a restaurant and he's watching people and he's watching one person in particular and he's weighing up their probability of death. And in that scene, a woman, Emma, who is my main character, sees him and she's the only one that can see him. And she gets up to go and investigate, but actually never gets to him before he decides that the man who he's watching, his fates conclude. And so the Grim Reaper disappears. So I had this dream and I kind of thought nothing of it at first, other than it kept replaying in my brain. And I kept saying to my husband, oh, it's really interesting, isn't it? You know, what would happen if, and what would happen if? And I think in the end, he got so fed up of me that he said, I'm going to just write it down. So I basically started writing it down. I had no sense of a plot, no idea where it was going. You might have guessed by now that I'm a bit of a pantser. Even now to this day, when I write, my husband says, where's the end of this book? I'm like, I have no idea. Just write what comes to mind. So I started writing about Emma and Blake, so the Grim Reaper and Emma who can see him. And I just started thinking, what would happen if, what would happen if? And I knew I wanted them to get together. I knew there was something about her being the only one that could see him. And I wanted to understand that. And I wanted to understand what it would be like for somebody who had basically had no interaction with anybody for the last 1,000 years. So very much that was where book 1 came from. And book 1 kind of on its own just felt a little bit flat without something else in it. So I added a second kind of sub-story, which is a stalking sub-story, which actually required some research with the police to make sure that I didn't mess up any of the British policing. So that was where book 1 came from. I wrote all sorts into book 1 that I had absolutely no idea where it was going. And then thought, well, you know, I quite enjoyed doing this. It was a bit of fun, wasn't it? So I started writing book 2 again with a bit of a sense of no real idea of where it's going. I think I was halfway through book 2 when I had a dawning realization about some of the characters that I'd introduced in book 1. And kind of somehow it all came together. I'm trying not to say too much about the later books because if I do, it really does give stuff away in the earlier books. But fundamentally, over the 3 books, there's a story arc about Emma and Blake. Blake's a Grim Reaper. He's struggling to come to terms with the life that he's had. Emma falls in love with him. I don't think that's a secret. I don't think that's a big spoiler. And in each of the books, there's a something that has to be solved. So in the first one, it's stalking. In the second one, it's something a little bit different. And in the third one, I will be honest, it gets a little bit darker still. and sets up a spin-off that I have planned but haven't yet started writing. So that's kind of how the Grimm series came about, and kind of what they're all about. But I don't want to say too much more because it does give stuff away.
Exactly. We gotta keep some secrets for our
Yeah, I do want people to
listeners.
buy the books.
And I was such a fan, and this is perfect because Blake, this is perfect for my next question. So, as authors, we will often hear readers describe a character, whether it's in our book or someone else's, as a book boyfriend. And for me, your character, Blake, is right up there at the top as a book boyfriend. And I know I'm not the only one. But Blake can be a little moody and challenging. So, why do you think your readers gravitate toward him? Why is he so compelling?
So you're absolutely right. I mean, to be perfectly frank, Blake is written to be a little bit of an arrogant. Oh, I want to use an English swear word, and I really shouldn't here. He's written to be a bit of an arrogant sausage, let's just say, and that's purposeful because I genuinely think if you spent all of your life, thousands of years, and I think I say in the book it's 976 or 964, but that's a lot of time on your own. You can't interact with anybody. You can't. You can hear people. You can see things that are going on, which is the crux of Blake's character. But you can't engage with them. You can't talk to them. You can't. You can't have a conversation. You can't really get involved in the work. About the only thing you can do is watch from afar. And I genuinely think that if that was somebody's life, it would sour your disposition, let's say. So, and the reason that I particularly wanted to write Blake in a certain way, which is a bit of an arrogant sausage, let's be honest, is because I'm sick and tired of reading books where the main character is perfect. So, for me, Emma was absolutely positively written to be in her 30s. She's not a youngster. She's not blonde. She's not thin. She doesn't kick ass in high heels. And Blake is not this gorgeous. I mean, he's gorgeous to me, obviously, but he's not this gorgeous, tall, dark, handsome, perfect, charitable, kind, giving person. He's perfectly flawed because he's perfectly real. And the people that most people say, if they comment on the characters in my book, they tend to say that they like Blake better than they like Emma, which is a bit worrying because Emma's a little bit based on me. That's a bit worrying, but hey ho. And I just think it's the flaws. I think it's real. I think that's what people gravitate towards. So it's the fact that they're reading about somebody who they could know. And Blake's by no means a bad person. He's not malicious or evil. He's a good person who's had bad things happen to him, and because of that, he behaves a certain way. And I think that's what people are drawn to. I think, and it's the difference, isn't it? He's a different character.
Absolutely. And I mean, that's one of the reasons why I'm drawn to him and Emma, because neither one of them are perfect. And so I can see me, right? Sort of see me as Emma when I'm reading the book. And I think that's what readers love. Okay, so a Grimm series, that trilogy, that ended. And oh, I had to say goodbye to those characters, but I'm very excited because I know you've got more stuff coming up in your new series. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I have got a spin-off planned for those of you that love a Grimm series that involves Ellie, who's the best friend character. There is a short story that features in the box set of a Grimm series, which kind of starts down the road of Ellie's story. I haven't actually put pen to paper on the rest of the story. And this is a secret from my family, so I won't be sharing this podcast with my family. I have a little niece and nephew. My niece is 6, my nephew is 8, and when they came to stay with us last summer, they begged for a story. So the adventures of Sir Ewan and Princess Esme were born, and naively, I thought children's stories can't really be that hard to write. I'll box this out over Christmas. It's not going so well. I've only written 12,000 words so far, and I'm aiming for about 40. But currently, I'm working on The Storm, which is the first in their adventure tales. So it's designed for 11 to 8-year-olds, and that's the other way around, isn't it? 8 to 11-year-olds. Adventures involving a princess of the Isle of Air and one of the Grand Knights of the Isle of Air. I've got at least 2 books planned from that series. I don't know which order I'm going to write. And I'm a bit of a what I feel like writing is what I write next. It's not my day job. So I do it because I like it and I like publishing. And let's be honest, I like it when people say I really like your stuff. So so
Absolutely. No,
so
absolutely. And actually, speaking of your stuff, let's show the readers and the listeners and the viewers this gorgeous series. And I have to tell
we
you,
love those covers, I have to say.
they're beautiful. They're beautiful covers. I know you had great input into the covers. And I love the series. So, readers, make sure you start with A Grim Affair, fall in love with Emma, fall in love with Blake. And if you are on my newsletter list, I am going to be giving away a free copy. So make sure you're on my newsletter list for February. We have come to the end of our podcast. So let me tell readers how they can find your books. You will find a Grimm series on Amazon. Make sure you look it up. If you like paranormal romance, and I think people who like paranormal mysteries will really like this series too. So that's just something I want to throw out there. Your socials, Instagram, Rachel 21 Stanley. Please give Rachel a follow. She's just such a class act, and we need more
Thank
of that
you.
in our world. So
Thank you
thank you
so
for
much.
joining me today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Awesome. All right. I will see you, readers and listeners, the next time. Take care. This has been 12 Minutes or Less with the author.